Apocrypha by Matt Burns. Ash still drifted down the spires of a rock. It would be for days to come, weeks perhaps. Rashad was fine with that, he decided. Smoke and ash he could bear, genocide he could not. Charred forest filled with broken trees and the blackened corpses of his fellow outcast arakkoa surrounded him. Above it all rose the craggy spires of Skyreach, home of the high arakkoa who had sought to eradicate Rashad's kind. The natural stone towers clawed at the belly of the sky like talons. Atop the highest rested a giant gold crystal, the high arakkoan weapon that had rained down death and destruction on the outcasts in their forest home. If Rashad closed his eyes, he could experience it all again. The beam of white-hot fire harnessing the power of the sun, lancing down from the crystal and setting his world aflame. He could hear the shrieks of wood splintering, the cries of the outcasts burning alive. But all of that was over now, he reminded himself. The order that had ruled the high arakkoa with unyielding fanaticism, the adherents of Rookmar, was in shambles. Their weapon was destroyed. From the ashes they left behind, something new was emerging. Slowly but surely it was emerging. Rashad saw it right before his eyes. The Order of the Awakened, a new society of arakkoa striving to abandon the hatred and rivalries that had ruled their people for generations. In the burned-out forest, former enemies walked as friends. On one side, the wingless outcasts, twisted by the curse of Setha. On the other side, their cousins, the elegant and powerful winged high arakkoa, who had once viewed all things that dwell below their spires as inferior. About time, Rashad thought. These old bones grow tired. A familiar squawk drew Rashad's attention. A blur of red feathers circled overhead. His Cleary, Percy, swooped low, clutching a satchel overflowing with scrolls between his black talons. Ah, you found them! Rashad clapped his gnarled hands. He had sent Percy out to check on one of his caches of scrolls. This crafty scholar had hidden many throughout the forests over the years. Bring them here. Percy flung the satchel beside Rashad, sending the scrolls tumbling across the sooty ground. Rah! The elder outcast screeched. Careful, Percival! You know those are fragile! The Cleary slanted on the jagged stump of a tree and shrieked a retort. Yes, yes, Rashad sighed, digging into a cloth pouch of his gold-trimmed violet robes. His hand emerged, trailing a mix of seeds and nuts. I hadn't forgotten your reward. He scattered it at his feet and wiped his palms on his robes. Percy hopped from the tree trunk and tore through the seeds in a frenzy of beak and talon. So, show some dignity, there are strangers about, Rashad chided as he began looking through the fallen scrolls. He picked through them lovingly, as one would handle Cleary eggs. They were old histories depicting arakkoan society before it had been divided between those with wings and the outcasts. Apocrypha, lords suppressed by the adherents of Rookmar in an attempt to manipulate and brainwash their kind. Rashad carefully placed the scrolls in the satchel, examining each one of them for signs of damage from the fire. He stopped at one about Tarok, the ancient king who had ruled over the arakkoa, titled before the fall. Rashad weighed it in his hand. Such a small thing. Just a small thing, he thought. Just ink and parchment. Yet so powerful it could rival the false sun that the high arakkoa had wielded. Rashad! An outcast hobbled forward, his ash-streaked feathers the color of a stormy sky. A high arakkoa wearing a dark blue tunic over teal plumage marched by his side. We have not been able to find Iskar, the outcast continued. Scouts have gone in search for him, but it will be some time before they return. So be it, Rashad said, a coldness pressing down upon him. Shadow Sage Iskar was the leader of the outcasts. His absence was disconcerting. He had seemed aloof and angry in recent weeks, and Rashad wondered about his intentions. Iskar had always been somewhat obsessed with power, a byproduct of his personal history. But what is he after? Is this new society of Arakkoa not enough for him? Should we be concerned? The High Arakkoa asked. That remains to be seen, Rashad replied. Sit, both of you. Rest. The High Arakkoa nodded as he perched atop a fallen tree. The outcast took his seat on a small tree stump nearby, wiping soot from his face. Rashad unrolled the scroll in his hand. The dry parchment was much like him, weathered and frail but full of secrets. He had made it his life's work to collect his knowledge, to teach it to a new generation of his kind. Arakkoa who would follow wisdom rather than the prejudice and mindless zealotry of the past. Now, he figured, was a good time as any to start. What do you know of Iskar? He asked, turning to the High Arakkoa. Only that he leads the outcasts. And what do you know of the ruler of the adherents, High Sage Phoenix? Rashad asked the outcast. The dead High Sage, thankfully, he thought. It was by her will that the High Arakkoa had unleashed their weapon, hoping to exterminate the outcasts. She did all of this! The outcast eyed the shattered woods, voice raw and sharp. Yes, Rashad continued. On the surface they seem very different. Some might say the two of you do, but there was a time when they were the same.